All right, David Borla, I appreciate you letting me come out here and talk to you today.
For sure. Thanks for coming.
So tell me a little bit about what's going on here at the Sema show for you at Borla.
Well, we've been doing this a long time, and so first of all, it's just always great to be here. It's my favorite time of year, and the enthusiasm this particular year is noticeably kind of more positive than it has been, I think, since COVID, obviously, and the post-COVID recovery. So it's really kind of fun to hear the optimism and the enthusiasm come back. This is a fun industry. Really, nobody here really sells anything you need. It's all kind of want product and a lot of fun. So I can feel that fun coming back and that sense of excitement coming back. And there's kind of a new generation of car enthusiasts that you're starting to see here.
Yeah.
And it's just fun having been a part of it, being second generation. I think a lot about my dad and his generation and kind of how we're moving the ball forward and keeping their legacy and keeping this thing going. I mean, it really goes back to the World War II generation even. And so it's such a cool thing to be a part of, and such an honor to be a part of it. And I'm excited to be sort of on the front end of some good times that are coming. Feels really good.
Yeah, I was going to say the way that the show has been so far has actually been more diverse in a way. Like usually you see a bunch of jacked up trucks outside, but I've seen an equal amount of trucks that are slam, lowrider, even resto mod. I really do see that. I think the market is starting to really come back to be that diverse market it was way before the pandemic even.
Yeah, those micro niches kind of coming back. And I think that because companies are starting to do a little bit better than they were. COVID was tough, man.
Yeah.
It's really hard, and so everybody was just trying to focus on kind of where the volume is.
Right.
And, trucks are always kind of where the volume has been and lifted trucks in particular. So I think that as things start to open up and you see that optimism that I've been talking about, creativity comes back too.
Yeah.
Right. And really the to your point, kind of the foundation of this whole thing is for everybody to be kind of different, to do a lot of different things. And so it's so much fun to see that coming back. And I see it as well. And I'm really excited about what's coming even.
Right.
But
yeah, I know the one thing you were hoping to get coming and going was the Borla sound system for electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was a little bit of issue there. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe just talk about how that's now progressing back to where you would like it?
Sure. So doing something new is hard.
Yeah.
Right? We've been kind of doing the same metal work for a really long time, and moving into the EV space, obviously now we're talking about electronics, and particularly the digital signal processor and the software that goes inside of it is such a critical part of all of it. And really the initial product that we released, still super proud of it, and it was so cool, and we won a Sema award, and it was such an honor, and we got a lot of attention for it. But we learned a lot in the process too once we got out in the field, and a lot of it broke. A lot of things broke and didn't work right. And, we kind of learned the hard way. But what was really cool about it was that we gave all of our customers the option. Not everything broke. A lot of it's still working fine.
Right.
The stuff that did break, we gave the customers the option to send them back. These are hundreds. And not one customer wanted to send it back. Everybody wanted to be on board and be part of this exciting new process and developing something new. So we had nothing sent back. Everybody that's out there wants to be part of the beta testing and moving this thing forward to 2.0, as we might call it. So what we have now is we've developed an entirely new digital signal processor. We've written entirely new software. We have more and more sound files coming that are much higher quality. And then the coolest thing about all of it is the app. So the app is almost ready to be launched. And the thing about the app is that's really what you hold and you touch, and you play with in your hand. And the app is what allows you to configure the car the way you want. So as we build the sound library, now you can configure the car through the app. You have options of dozens and eventually hundreds of sounds to choose from. And we listened to what everybody said. And while internal combustion sounds are really cool, what the majority of the market really wants is futuristic, electronic type sounds.
Right.
So we've had some time to do some sound design and to develop all that stuff. And so you'll be able to play with all these sounds, modify them yourself, save the presets, load them into your car. And then on the hardware side, we're looking at a much more robust amplifier and speaker. So the whole system's going to have a lot more clarity, and it's going to be a lot louder, right? So
I was going to say that last year when we played around with it here just before the show opened, it was plenty loud.
stationary it is, but it's a really big change, and it's really challenging to keep that excitement when the car starts moving, right? And so what you want really is, as the driving experience becomes more intense and more aggressive, the sound should sort of match it,
right?
And it takes a very special speaker and a very special amplifier setup to do that. We've actually had to work with a company to custom make a whole new speaker setup to make that work,
right?
Because these speakers are really made for music, and the signals that we're throwing through are just so different,
right?
So it's been a really fun ride, and I'm like super excited to introduce 2.0 to everybody coming really, really soon. So,
well, despite that, you've still got the metal side of the business still going.
Yeah.
So what are some of the newest things you guys have developed that's coming out this year and maybe into next year?
So the Mustang Dark Horse is just, it's just such a killer car, and it's been a lot of fun to work with, both with the traditional Borla aftermarket and Ford Performance, and then of course Shelby, on their Super Snake. So the Shelby guys were here yesterday. It's such an honor to be on their cars, and they're kind of the pinnacle of the whole thing. So I think that the Shelby stuff that we were doing is really, really cool, and we're working with Fox Factory also on a whole bunch of trucks. The truck market is just killing it, like it always is. That new the 6.2 Silverado moved to an active exhaust. So having that exhaust valve, we love that functionality because it gives us more than one exhaust note to play with. The Jeep Rubicon 392 has it now. The first time you have a V8, I mean, I know that vehicle's a couple of years old, but first time you have a V8 in a Wrangler, but it's got a button on the steering wheel. Where it opens and closes the exhaust valve. So again, we get two notes to choose from. Corvette Z06 is coming. Our Corvette Z06 system is coming. The C8 itself is just a really, really popular exhaust system for us. Can't wait to get our hands on the RHO Ram. That's coming. That's going to be a lot of fun. I know that inline 6 Hurricane motor makes a lot of power. And so we're excited to make that note as great as it can be, and for an inline 6, it's got a whole different sound signature. So that's something new for us to play with, and we're working with Honda Racing on their purpose-built race cars. So there's a whole new thing coming with the change in the EPA's interpretation of the Clean Air Act. There are all these new purpose-built race cars coming, so that's opened up a whole new market there. So we're working with Toyota on their GR86 race car. The Dark Horse R race car, another one that we built the headers and exhaust for that one. The Integra race car. So we're having a lot of fun. There's no shortage of opportunity on the internal combustion side as well.
So that does kind of bring up a good point, whereas we're starting to see engines kind of decrease in their displacement and rely more on turbos. How has that made you start to, obviously sound is still kind of sound, but obviously having two big turbos hanging off the side of a truck or a truck engine, it kind of disturbs that flow.
It does.
So
it does. It's like putting everything in a blender. So but exhaust systems don't make sound. We just shape the sound of the motor. Or the engine setup and the turbos. So it's just a different note for us to work with. I think the approach that we take with the whole thing is that we want that's set up to sound as good as it can for what it is, rather than trying to mask it and turn it into something that it isn't.
Right.
Right. So if we're working on a 4-cylinder turbo car, like we want that thing to sound like the best 4-cylinder turbo car you've ever heard. We're not trying to make it sound like a naturally aspirated V8.
Right.
And we love these motors and these setups for what they are. We really, truly appreciate them. We try to get to know the enthusiasts that love those motors and really get a sense of what they're looking for, and give them the options that they want. And we offer more than one sound level and tip styles and finishes and all kinds of sort of have it your way. And it's really fun to get into these markets and to get to know it and to deliver what they're looking for. We're here to serve the industry. We're here to serve the enthusiast.
Right.
We're not here to push our ideas on them. We're here to listen to them and get an idea of what they're looking for and how they want to have fun and how they use these vehicles and to exceed their expectation and make it even more fun for them.
So you mentioned earlier that Dodge and Jeep now have that selectable exhaust note, and that includes Ford as well.
Yeah.
How does that make you guys go back and think about, okay, how can we make our muffler work with that better?
Well, the first thing is, it's critical that we maintain that functionality, right? If it comes from the factory with a cool factor like that, we want to make sure that we maintain that functionality. And then in the spirit of the aftermarket, we want to give it a different flavor. So the short answer is there are 2 different exhaust notes. So we get to play with 2 different exhaust notes.
Okay.
It's twice as much fun as a single note. And we've developed our own valve technology. So we are entirely replacing the factory valve, which gives us even more control over the outcome of the whole thing.
Right.
And it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to work with. And we typically, for the first 40 years of the business, there were no moving parts.
Right.
Now we're working with precision parts and moving parts, and we have a smaller part of our business called Borla Induction, where we manufacture electronic fuel injection kits with individual throttle bodies.
Right.
And actually the butterfly valves in the throttle bodies are very similar to the butterfly valves in the exhaust valves. So we've really had a head start on that sort of precision parts making, and it's really given us a big advantage and the ability to do a lot of different things and have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. So a big part, well, I don't know if it's a big part of your business, but a decent chunk of your business is custom and racing. And you mentioned the Honda Civic purpose-built race car, but then we have cars like Matt Field's Corvette C8. How does that side of the business look right now versus what it did maybe even 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago?
Well, Matt is kind of next level when it comes to this whole thing.
Right.
And when you get to work with somebody like him and a project like his C8, we get to work with the engine builder.
Right.
Which is really different than saying, well, okay, here's the motor, and we got to build a header back exhaust, even if it's a race car, for a mass-produced motor, right? This is a custom one-off motor,
right?
So from the very beginning, we're working with the engine builder to make this whole thing the best it can be.
Yeah, and
so it starts with CAD drawings and modeling technology. Before we even make anything out of metal, we're trying to figure out really through computer technology how to sort of like get a huge head start on this.
Right.
And then as you start to make parts and you start to incorporate them on the car, it starts to become even more exciting. In the case of Matt Field, we're looking at equal length headers with 2.5-inch primaries.
Yeah.
For a Honda Civic, the exhaust system, it's a single pipe, 2.5 inches. Now you got 8 2.5-inch primaries coming straight off the head. It's insane, making over 1,000 horsepower, naturally aspirated. It's an LSR block with with NASCAR heads essentially on it, and so just getting to work at that level and flex what we're able to do, it adds. It's just like a shot of lightning through the whole company.
Okay.
Because the guys that get to work on it, they're so excited to be able to do it, to be able to contribute to something like that. And in the same way that I was saying, we're here to serve the end user. In this case, we're here to serve Matt.
Yeah.
And Matt had a vision, and we're just so psyched that we were able to help him deliver on that vision. But the credit really needs to go to Matt, because he put so much work and effort and time and resources into this whole thing. And the world's first manual sequential shift CA Corvette drift car. It's just insane. It's just off the chain. Really.
And then we have some guys like Christopher. I cannot pronounce his last name, unfortunately. Polverdi, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a business you guys are probably a little more familiar with, because you had people driving in the short course truck racing,
Yep.
and then that built up into the open desert racing.
Yep.
How's it been like working with Chris's team and compared to Matt's team?
Very similar, just in the sense that we get to work, from the beginning with them. And it's a very different vision,
Mm-hmm.
but we're here to serve Christopher and to help serve his vision.
Right.
In his case, his needs are a lot different from Matt's, right?
Right.
So, I don't know how long a typical Formula Drift race is. Is it a minute or not? Not even a minute.
No, it's usually not even a minute.
Yeah, not even a minute long, right? So, in Christopher's case, he's running for hours.
Right.
And so, driver fatigue is just a giant part of what we had to think about with him. So making the car sound right and sort of loud enough that it's still intuitive and gives that visceral connection for him.
Right.
Because sound is a big part of the driving experience, and him knowing sort of how the truck's performing.
Right.
And sort of what kind of inputs he needs to, he needs that feedback to know kind of what kind of inputs he needs to put. But if it's too loud, it's going to wear him out, and and wear his entire team out.
Yeah.
So trying to find that sweet spot with the note was really, really important. The motor is generating heat for a really long time.
Yeah.
So durability, between the heat cycling and then just all the impact that's constantly going on, right?
Right.
And you can't have the exhaust system fail at any time. With Matt, he's rubbing against the wall, and between every run, they're used to changing things out or whatever. But we don't want to be the reason that he's got to stop his truck.
Right.
So durability is just a gigantic part of the game for him, and so. And then, if you look at the location of the exhaust on this truck, it's a very unusual location.
Yeah, it's not the typical coming out of the bumper or even coming out of the side, like right in front of the rear tire. It's actually coming out on top of what would be the truck bed.
Yeah. So from a packaging perspective, that was a whole new thing for us.
Right.
And the muffler just needs to be tough, and it needs to be able to handle the heat, and it needs to be quiet. And so, but just in a similar way with both of them, it's just really important that we listen to them, and that they're honest with us about how our stuff works. First time, we don't always get it right the first time.
Right.
So, and we're not so arrogant as to think we will. But give us enough time and work with us enough, and we're going to get them exactly where they want to be and where they need to be. And I'm proud to be able to say that we did that for both of them.
All right, David, thank you so much for coming out and letting me interview you today. Tell me a little bit about where my fans can find your product and more information about Borla.
Well, our website is www.borla.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Our handle is Borla Performance. And if you want to get in touch with me, my email address is davidb@borla.com. We're a family-owned business. Work together with my mom, and I am really accessible. I love talking to enthusiasts, and I love being a part of this community. I grew up in this world here, doing this thing that we call the automotive aftermarket, and have a lot of gratitude for those involved. And so, if you want to reach out to me, you want to talk cars, you want to talk exhaust, please go ahead and do so. And just proud to be here, and can't thank you enough for coming in here and talking to me.